When we think of where most people go wrong with their finances, it comes back to their spending. We spend money, often too much money, on things we don't really need, but think that we want. This has always been an issue, and it's only getting tougher. In our modern world, it's almost impossible to do anything without seeing a personally targeted ad. It's on our phones, computers, streaming services, and seemingly anything else we consume. And now we're able to buy pretty much anything from anywhere, only requiring a finger or facial scan to confirm we are who we say we are. Back when cash was relevant and widely used, studies found that consumers spent less when using cash, making sure that what they did spend their money on was important. When we see cash that we're about to spend, it makes the transaction feel more real. Seeing what we're about to trade for something else gives us a chance to think twice about it. In some cases, parting with our hard-earned cash can actually cause us to feel pain. When we're using cards or virtual wallets to make payments, we don't see the money at all, and often we don't have a sense of our own accounts. Especially if it's going on to a credit card or a source of debt, we can feel like we aren't actually spending our own money, that we're spending our future self's money instead. Without a connection to our future self, this is easier and easier to do, and puts us in a worse and worse position moving forward. When we're spending more of our money than we should, it's referred to as living outside of our means. It puts us in a never-ending cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, always trying to pay down our debt for the next purchase. We might look at it and tell ourselves that it only costs us the interest that we pay, but that would be a lie. Living outside of our means not only costs us interest, but it costs us our goals and what matters most to us. Instead of being in a position of saving and investing towards our goals, we're paying interest to someone else. We're putting ourselves in a position where we're negatively compounding our financial situation while we're moving further away from our goals. Keeping up with the Joneses is a phrase that was born out of a comic strip from 1913. In it, the McGinnis family is constantly feeling the pressure of and trying to emulate the lifestyle of their neighbors, the Jones family. In one strip, the McGinnis couple were asked if they own a phonograph, and Mr. McGinnis responds, not exactly. I've got 108 more payments to make before we own it. We may feel pressure to keep up with certain people around us, but it's a losing endeavor, and here's why. When we see someone with something valuable, it doesn't tell us anything about their level of wealth or their ability to afford what we see. If we see someone driving in a $100,000 sports car, all that we can say for sure is that they have either paid for that car or are currently paying for that car. We can't say if that person is wealthy and that car is a reasonable purchase based on their income or net worth, or if they're drowning in debt and living paycheck to paycheck just to make payments. In either case, spending money on wants rather than needs takes us away from our ultimate goal. Earlier in this course, we defined wealth as the amount of money that you need to be free. The more money we spend and the more debt we have, the more time we have to trade for working and earning money in order to pay for it. This is the complete opposite of wealth. True wealth isn't money that you see, it's money that you don't see. You may have seen this meme of Warren Buffett and Bill Gates from many years ago. Their fashion sense might cause some laughter. Surprisingly, lizard print button-up shirts haven't quite caught on, but their combined net worth is about $250 billion now. This while giving away more than $100 billion combined over the years. We focus so much of our time and attention on trying to impress other people. In most cases, other people that we don't really know or don't really even care about. The people who genuinely care about you won't positively shift their opinion of you based on material things. And if they do, I think that says more about them than it does about you. But this is true for everyone. We are all so focused on trying to impress other people that we don't have any room left to be impressed by someone else. If you think back to the last time you saw someone with something that you wanted, maybe a luxury car, an expensive bag, or a beautiful home, you likely walked away with a desire for that thing, not with an impressive feeling towards that person. We still want to be ourselves, but we want to be an upgraded version of ourselves that has those things that we want. We don't want to be the person that already has those things. The truth is that nobody cares as much as you do. Everyone is too worried about themselves to really care about what anyone else is doing. And that's perfectly fine. If we imagine our funeral decades and decades from now, we don't want people to stand up and give a speech about something that we owned. We want them to share a memory we experienced together, or how we made them feel, or the type of person we always tried to be. We want to have a unique and meaningful impact on those around us. That doesn't come from buying the newest thing or paying a significantly higher price for something than we need to. I'm not trying to say never spend money. What I am trying to say is spend money on what's actually important to you. When we don't have values or goals, we could be convinced that spending money on just about anything will make us happy. Then we buy that thing and realize it hasn't made us happy, but maybe the next thing will, so we buy that. This can go on indefinitely. Morgan Housel wrote, "Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money." That's why planning is so important. If we're able to plan effectively, we can lay out what's important to us and what we want to work towards. This puts us in a position where we're not spending money on things that might make us happy. We're actually working towards things that we know will make us happy. Something that's important to realize, if we're just trying to keep up with the Joneses, we might be trying to keep up with someone that isn't happy, that's spending in order to find a happiness that will always elude them because it isn't aligned with what actually matters to them. We don't want to chase someone to the bottom. We want to create our own path to the top. And again, we have no clear idea of their actual financial situation. The majority of the worst financial situations I've seen are from people who, from the outside, look like they have it all figured out. High-earning job, new car, big house. But when you dive into it, you find a mind-blowing amount of debt, bad financial habits, and the only real solution involves them selling everything that they have just to try to break even. It's not a reality, it's a mirage. We don't want to just appear to be in a good financial situation. We actually want to be in a good financial situation. It's the idea of looking rich versus being wealthy. Wealth is not what you see. It's the time and freedom to do what you value most. The French philosopher Montesquieu wrote, "If you only wish to be happy, this could be easily accomplished. But we wish to be happier than other people, and this is always difficult, for we believe others to be happier than they are." Our own happiness comes down to our reality minus our expectations. If our expectations are unrealistically high, it doesn't really matter what we accomplish. It'll always feel like a disappointment. A large part of setting our expectations is to stop the goalpost from moving and knowing when enough is enough. When you're 16, any car that is yours feels like the best car in the world. It doesn't really matter what it is, because it's your first real taste of freedom. But over the years, things will change. As you make more money and start a family, you'll want to upgrade your car. Your priorities will have shifted from wanting any car to needing one that's safe and reliable. Expectations changing over time is natural, and it's perfectly normal. What we want to avoid is spending money for no real reason. We have to understand what purpose something serves, and make sure that it's doing what we need it to do. Lifestyle creep refers to what can happen when we make more money. Our spending increases. Making more money without having intent or purpose behind it usually leads us to looking at that money as additional funds to spend. It's important to acknowledge the progress that we make and to treat ourselves, but it shouldn't put us in a worse financial situation. Often, lifestyle creep results in us having more obligations and more debt, putting us in a position where we can't afford to stop working, because if we did, we would lose everything that we have. Again, we're trading our time for money. The goal of building wealth is to use our money to spend our time in our most ideal way. I can't imagine working to pay off debt being an ideal way to spend time for anyone. When we're working towards a goal, it's important to remember the original value and happiness in that goal. If the goal of a car is to provide you and your family with a safe and comfortable mode of transportation to live your ideal lifestyle, as long as your vehicle still serves that purpose, there's no reason to waste money upgrading to something new. Remember how little features your first car had and how happy it made you. There's no reason why we constantly need the latest and greatest. Base model vehicles today have more computing power than the Apollo rockets that first put a man on the moon. And if we think about it, they have to be better than 99% of cars that have ever existed. We want to be working towards meaningful and purposeful things. In the short term, that likely looks like giving up some status or minor convenience that we don't really need. And that's okay because we live in a better time than any other humans in history. Settling for something today still usually translates to something really good. Material things won't make us happier in the long term. It's just a band-aid. If we can focus our attention to what really matters most to us, we can spend our money with intent instead of regret. We want to align our behavior and our everyday actions with what matters most, our core values and beliefs. And that begins by realizing that no one cares as much as we do, and that we may want to rethink what we define as important. If we lay out our goals, identify what matters most, and build a plan to work towards them, then we can play our own game and not get distracted by those playing different games around us. We can focus on what matters to us, ensuring that our hard-earned money is making a difference in our life today and our life in the future. We're often put in a position of depending on money to pay for the things we don't really want or need. Money is a tool that we can use to give ourselves and our loved ones a better life, with the ultimate goal being independence. Remember, wealth is what you don't see. That's what we're trying to build.